Oh, hello. This is the Oh Hello podcast with me, John Whalen, Isaac, and Colin. Today we'll be going over our hate episode. We're really going to go over coaches that make our blood boil, teams that make our blood boil, and players that are just overrated and overhyped and really, really make our blood boil. We're also going to get into the Brendan Sorsby situation. He was just recently sent to gambling rehab this week. We're going to talk about how we think that affects him and the Texas Tech Red Raiders football team, and we're just going to go from there. I want to start out by saying on the Brendan Sorsby situation, I'll start out by saying, I don't think a $2 fastball deserves medical attention at all. I mean, look, if he's got a gambling problem, then so do we. I put parlays in on every single game I nearly watch. That's part of why I love college football. Parlays are part of it. Um, and it's a college football problem just as much as it's an NFL problem. You watch a SEC football game, a Big Ten game. You watch Maction. There's DraftKings. There's FanDuels. There's BetMGM commercials. Um, I don't think this is so much about Brendan Sorsby's health. Texas Tech is clearly playing chess while everybody else is playing checkers. By sending him to rehab, quote unquote, I think they're trying to keep him from getting a suspension. Um, that's my first thoughts on it. Y'all can go ahead and talk about it a little bit.
Yeah. So, I mean, here's my thing. Prayers to Brendan Sorsby, prayers to the family. That is an addiction, gambling for real. I think it's taken over sports as a whole, not just college football in general. But I think people need to be a little bit more mindful of it because addictions are real and they can happen. I will say that he checked himself into that facility, so that's something there. And it wasn't just baseball. Let's keep this in mind, guys. He bet on an Indiana game while at Indiana. Sure, he wasn't the starter, but he was betting on his own football teams, and it's still currently under investigation. We don't know as far as how much he betted or what he betted on completely. There's still a chance that he might have betted on games while he was starting at Cincinnati. So I do think that he's probably going to receive a permanent ban from the NCAA, taking away his eligibility. And it's a sad thing to see, but there has to be consequences for things like this.
I do agree. There has to be consequences. I'm also not going to completely dismiss that if there is a problem, get it addressed. Don't want to downplay it at all. I don't look at the baseball situation as a problem. And the fact that that was one of the two things that were cited, and that was the specific thing that people were like, whoa, this is a problem. You get a few drinks, you're at an MLB game, you're betting on these pitches, man, with your buddies. You're like, dude, I'm taking the over on the pitch speed up here, 88.75, whatever, I don't even know. Like, this happens. And you do put like $1 or $2 on it. And it's not indicative of a problem. Unless I know people with a problem. It just sounds like harmless fun. Nobody's losing any sleep over $1 or $2 type of wagers that they're going to be placing on these pitches. So the fact that that was cited to me indicates that this might be some sort of like hardship cover up, meaning that they encouraged him to go and check into a facility to get out in front of this. And when he went to check in, they made a statement. And I think that they're trying to get out in front of it. They're trying to use that hardship and call it a problem so that way they have him playing football. And I think that they're the ones who could be potentially making light of that situation.
Well,
Well,
I was listening to sports news around the world, different analysts, stuff like that throughout my day to day. And from what I've heard from inside analysts about this investigation is two things. First of all, he was not the legal age to be gambling. So that's problem one. He was gambling underage.
you got to be
And
21.
problem two with it all is there was a piece of legislation that was passed in office saying that players in the collegiate level could bet on professional sports. The NCAA filed an appeal, and that appeal was approved. So now it's no longer like that. They can't bet on professional sports, even if they are at the collegiate level. So I think that that's kind of a sticky situation.
Well, what I did here, you know, I kind of compare and contrast, and uh, I like that Brendan Sorsby admitted himself. I like that Texas Tech's ahead of the game by getting him in there, helping him get in there. And I'm comparing this to previous situations. Could I see him getting in big trouble? I mean, yes, we've seen professional athletes get in trouble. Calvin Ridley, Michael Jordan. And then I compare this to, you know, Hunter Decker was betting on his own team and got caught red-handed. But John Mateer, he stayed quiet, survived on rumors. You know, he played for Oklahoma. Uh, I think Texas Tech is getting ahead of the game. I think they're controlling their own narrative right now by self-reporting. It's kind of, no offense, Colin, but it's kind of the most Ohio State Big Ten move we have seen in the Big 12. I mean, it's Ohio State's the king of self-reporting. And I think the fact that they're getting ahead of it, that's why I feel like they're playing chess while everybody else is playing checkers. And I like the way they're doing this. If we see him play, I don't know.
Well, and the interesting thing about all this, and I'll say this, is I don't think it's the Brendan Sorsby necessarily. I think it's Texas Tech. I mean, you got a guy that you just paid what upwards of $5 million to, who's probably not going to be eligible for this year to play. Will Hammond, your backup, who was supposed to be the future of Texas Tech football, is going to be out with an ACL tear minimum by week 3. So it's going to be very interesting watching Texas Tech because there's no spring portal anymore. So they're going to have to figure out that situation.
Well, and you know, I mean, they added 2 transfers this offseason, and I never thought Kirk Francis would play, but here we are with a situation where Kirk Francis, who has started games in college football, Tulsa's starting quarterback last year, might actually be the guy for a little while, be the bridge guy if they need him. I also I do think Hammond can be good enough to lead this team though. But getting Hammond back or being playing at a good level by that Houston game, that's going to be important because Houston's going to be a good football team this year.
Well, I like it. I mean, you know, here's the mentality you got to have as a football player, especially a college football player. Next man up. Um, and if I'm a Texas Tech fan, I would be panicking. I mean, we just fit all this in a L to possibly have you sit. But I don't know, and I may be wrong, but if Hammond's knee can be healthy by September, I look at week 2, and if he's really playing good as a sophomore by this Oregon State game, and I don't know if Hammond will play, I don't know if it's possible for his knee to even be healthy by week 1. But if he's able to play by this Oregon State game, and Sorsby for some reason is not suspended, not able to play because he's in rehab, whatever the case may be, does Sorsby even win his job back? And Hammond's a
So
sophomore.
what I'll say is, Texas Tech's head coach came out in a press conference and said Hammond will not be back by that Oregon State game. The best that they're going to do is Houston. Now, obviously, stuff can change throughout the offseason, and they might be able to get him back by the Oregon State game. But as far as we know, he will be out until Houston at best.
Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if that ends up being the case, by the way, because the initial timeline was going to be mid to late October anyway, and he sounds like he's ahead of schedule. I mean, this was really bad from everything I heard, like completely blew up his knee. So, yeah, it'll be very interesting to see how this whole situation plays out.
I mean, but I just want to say, does it's I mean, is Sorsby a genius or a liability? That's my question because if the dude's hitting on 80% of his bets, I think he's a genius. Honestly,
Right?
I
I mean,
mean,
dude, that's what I'm saying is like,
if he's a
if you're gonna,
degenerate like me that loves putting parlays in, he's a genius if he's hitting bets.
yeah, I was like, if he's betting on himself, he better be winning, right?
Yeah, I
Like,
mean, and I'm going to give my honest opinion. If he has a gambling addiction, I take it very serious, and I hope he's getting the help he needs if he genuinely has a gambling addiction. But from what we know, these are $1 bets on a baseball game. Does that really violate the integrity of college football? I don't think
Well,
so.
Well, I mean, and like I said, this whole thing is still under investigation. We don't know what all he bet on. Like I said, we know he bet on an Indiana game while he was at Indiana as a freshman. Yes, he did not play, but he was still betting on his own team. So, I mean, the thing about this is that I actually heard an interesting statistic today. 75% of college kids sports gamble. Multiple different gambling websites and stuff like that actually have stated that of that 75%, 25% of those kids are collegiate athletes. So this is not just college football; it's an all-around sport issue that the NCAA definitely needs to crack down, especially with given these kids are making upwards of $2.5 million with NIL.
So I guess does Sorsby play in 2026? I don't think we see him. I think Hammond comes in whichever week it'll be off injury. He has a high upside. I don't really think they even needed to go after Sorsby in the transfer portal. He's in the same conference. He wasn't the best quarterback in his conference last year, and he's getting Sam Levitt LSU money just to lateral move to a same team in the conference. Yes, Texas Tech went to the playoff. They're a better team than Cincinnati. I'm not arguing that. But you're really going to dip in conference for a quarterback that wasn't even the best quarterback in your conference and pay him upwards of $5 million. And after this, I think Hammond. I mean, from what I've seen on Hammond, the film I've watched on Hammond, from high school to now, I think if he gets his opportunity, his shot, you know, Sorsby might lose his job. And I don't think we see him play in 2026. And I don't think if everything works out the way I'm thinking, I don't think we see him play in a Texas Tech jersey.
You want to chime in, Bosch?
I was just kind of thinking like Sorsby lateral move to Cincinnati is kind of crazy, or it's from Cincinnati to Texas Tech is kind of crazy, but I'm just gonna leave it.
And I mean, here's my thing is that I don't think so. The only thing holding Texas Tech back last year was Baron Morton, and I'm surprised the guy got drafted. Look, I mean, Brendan Sorsby compared to Baron Morton,
he got drafted over Sawyer Robinson. Insane.
He did. Is miles and miles ahead. Sorsby, if you look at what he had at Cincinnati, he put up an impressive showing and a pretty great stat line considering they didn't really have an offensive line there. So I think that was a great get for Texas Tech, but obviously they're having issues with it now. So,
well, speaking on the draft, I don't know if y'all seen it or not, but Diego Pavia did get signed by the Ravens.
I did see that.
I think I'm gonna be honest. I looked at their quarterback depth chart. They don't have an emergency third string, so I think Pavia's got the job there for a year.
They signed Joe Finano too.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah,
but I mean, they got Tyler Huntley as a backup. Nobody's winning that first string or second string job. It's a battle for emergency third. But
I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a Tyler Huntley trade.
I wouldn't be surprised if Diego Pavia takes Lamar's job.
Oh my God.
I'm kidding.
Yeah, I was about to say, Bosch.
Come on, let's be real.
I do want to get into the hate part of the episode. I'll lead the way. The first thing I'm going to start with was coaches. My first coach that really gets my blood boiling is no other, and he's not a current coach, and I hope I never see him touch a college football field again, but Brian Kelly. He was overhyped at Notre Dame because Notre Dame is always overhyped. He comes to LSU with a fake Southern accent. I don't know if he was trying to keep the Coach O vibes with the Go Tigers. I don't know what he was trying to do. And he gets at LSU, and his true colors come out because this isn't Notre Dame no more. And you just can't win at Notre Dame. I mean, you can win at Notre Dame, but not like you can LSU. It's harder to win at LSU than it is Notre Dame. We see it a lot of times when people come from a school, and I'm not saying Notre Dame's a small school. That's not what I'm saying at all. They manage to make the playoffs every year, but I would too if I was Notre Dame. The media loves Notre Dame, and he couldn't win any big games at LSU. I mean, Brian Kelly, he's a bum, and he gets my blood boiling. I hope I never see him on a college football field again. That's my number one on the hate show. I hate that college football coach more than any other college football coach I've ever seen.
Me and my family.
I mean, you might as well try it yourself. Rest of the podcast, we'll call you Brian Kelly.
Man, but my number one, Obviously, I'm a Tennessee fan, and I hold a very deep hatred for this coach I'm fixing to name. It's no other than Lane Kiffin. Okay, you have a situation set up in Tennessee. I know USC is your dream job, but you're taking over for Philip Fulmer. You had a 7-5 season your first year, almost beat Nick Saban's Alabama team, and you leave for a dying program like USC. I will never understand it. And then proceeds years later to get fired on the tarmac. Okay. The guy's a bum. I do think LSU is probably going to be really good, but I can't stand Lane Kiffin. He's always, for some reason, trolling Tennessee. I don't know why. I guess we just kind of live rent free in his head from the mistakes of his past. But I cannot stand Lane Kiffin.
I love Lane Kiffin, dude.
Uh,
Well, I don't like you, Bosch. That's my next coach, Bosch.
Lane
Oh,
Kiffin's
gosh.
good for college football. From the celebrity aspect. I mean, I think Lane Kiffin's an offensive genius. I won't take that away from him. A lot
He's a
better than the
bozo.
guy I said,
He's a
Brian Kelly.
bozo. He's a
But
bozo.
I think he's more of a celebrity than a football coach. And
He likes doing hot yoga with
Let's not
college
go,
girls.
let's
Stop
not
it.
go too crazy over there, John. He's a fine football coach. You may not like him, but he's a fine football coach.
He's a bum.
I just don't know what he's proven to be in the position he's in.
Look, come on.
Come on, man. Come on. Come on, John Whelan.
Stop.
I mean, how many conference titles? How many natties? I mean, I know
Okay,
he
but
won it for the
to
Atlantic.
be
but
fair, he was coaching Ole Miss, who their last national title was during World War II. So I mean,
the best.
Come
I will
on,
say this
man.
about Lane Kiffin, and we'll go to Collins' coach that he hates. But Lane Kiffin, I said he's an offensive genius. I don't think there's a better offensive mind in the game. And I watched him at Alabama take a running back at quarterback, and that running back that he played at quarterback made it to the national championship games. And he's done some pretty
Josh
impressive
Heupel.
things.
Josh Heupel.
What?
He said he couldn't name a better offensive mind. Josh Heupel.
What? Well, all these connections, man. I mean, you want to talk about an SEC coach that really doesn't deserve where he's at. You want to talk about an SEC coach who rode the coattails of Josh Heupel for the last few years? It's Alex Golesh. I can't stand his stupid beard. It looks terrible. I can't stand his stupid Timu Tennessee bullcrap offense. It's garbage. He basically said that, hey, in 2022, we averaged 12 to 14 seconds between snaps. I got an idea. Let's do it even crazier. Let's do 8 seconds now. This is ridiculous. Every time I turned on USF last year, I got nothing against USF, and now I love them because my boy Brian Hartline, but USF, when I turned them on last year, I'm like, I want this disgrace to football to lose. Every single week, lose. And guess what? It was also predictable when they ended up falling apart towards the end of the year. When they let Navy just pound them down, pound the ball down their throat and get a quick 3 and out here and there. Dude, this garbage does not work. It ruins football. I can't stand it. Alex Golesh, you are an embarrassment to the sport. Auburn, you are an embarrassment for hiring him. You continue yet again to absolutely show why you are behind Alabama within your own state and most of the schools in the SEC. You guys suck. And I want you to be good, unlike John Whalen. Auburn being good is good for the sport. Auburn not being good just means Alabama plays around with their food for 3.5 quarters and pulls it out in the end.
I will say this about me not wanting Auburn to be good. That's actually very negative. Everybody's going to come in the comments when I post the clip and tell me to take Crimson off again, but I don't care. The fact of the matter was when Auburn's playing good, Alabama's playing better. College football needs 4 teams to be good. They need Michigan and Ohio State to be good, Alabama and Auburn, because that's the 2 biggest rivalries in college football. And when Auburn's playing good, Alabama plays better. When Alabama's playing good, Auburn tries to play to Alabama standard.
Now,
Michigan and Ohio State, vice versa.
Time out. Okay. I think the Alex Golesh hate is undeserved.
I was going to get into that point too.
I think that the reason he's running a high tempo offense like he did at Tennessee was just because of the situation that we were in at Tennessee. That high tempo offense works, especially whenever you don't have as much talent on the other side of the field. Explanation 2022 Alabama versus Tennessee. We were not nearly as talented as that Alabama team, but we had to have something going into that game. So we said to ourselves, okay, we're going to see who gets gassed first. That's what we're going to do here. And I think as he's going to accumulate that talent at Auburn, you're going to see him shift just like Josh Heupel did last year to a more pro-style offense.
Hold on though. Josh Heupel's offensive identity did look different the second that Alex Golesh walked out the door, leaned more on the run game, leaned more on the offensive line, and didn't go nearly as fast. The tempo is always a part of it, and that's fine, but there's a certain point and a certain line you got to walk to where it's an advantage and where it ends up becoming cheesy. What ended up happening at USF and why when everybody was talking about them making the playoff, I said, no, it's not happening. They're going to lose games because they are not able to stay on the field consistently enough for it to be worth it. So they do this quick up-tempo stuff, and then you just blink, and all of a sudden you see 3 and out. Just like you could say you blink and they're down the field after a couple of first downs. Well, it can backfire for you. It backfired against Navy last year. It backfired, I believe it was Memphis, if I remember correctly. They are going to run into problems. And the thing is, too, is when you look at the offense that they brought over from Auburn, and by the way, Auburn's not going to have the patience for this garbage. It is literally USF's offense with a couple of Auburn players plug and play. They're going to do the same stuff, and if they do the same stuff, it's not going to work at all.
I do like Golesh at Auburn. Take my crimson colored glasses off for a minute and just look at it from a college football fan perspective. I think Golesh has a solid resume. I know, Colin, you disagree with that, but I do like the hire at Auburn. I like the people he's brought in around him defensively. And I will say, I'm actually got my TV on your college football show in 2 minutes into the Auburn preview, but I will say I think Auburn goes 7-5. I think it's a rebuild year, and every Auburn fan knows that, and everybody at Auburn knows that, which is a 2-game improvement from last year. I looked at their schedule. I see them dropping 5 games. But I do think Byron Brown is like the breakout player in the SEC as far as transfer portal quarterbacks go. I think he looks better than Sam Levitt at times this year. And that might be a hot take, and y'all might grill me for that because I know everybody's big on Sam Levitt. But...
Okay, here's the problem with that, though. Byron Brown has started for 3 years. Two of these 3 years, he could not even finish more than 6 games. He could not play more than 6 games. I don't want to get hung up on this. We got to move on. But you realize that he is going to be a flight risk when it comes to potential injuries just based on his play style and always trying to run dudes over. I mean, that's just what he does. So he played a full season last year, and I'm happy he didn't get hurt, and I don't want to see him get hurt because I love watching Byron Brown as much as I hate the offense he's in. But that's the truth. 2 out of 3 years as a starter, didn't even get to that 7th game.
But I'll go ahead. Did you say your coach, Isaac?
Yeah, Lane Kiffin.
Yeah,
you did. Okay, I'll go ahead and go to my second one then. We'll move on. I will say this though about your boy Brian Hartline. He's trying to make USF take credit for all those receivers y'all have had in the first round for the last 6 years. I don't know if you've seen the post or not. USF made a post. They're like, Brian Hartline, first round wide receiver 6 years in a row. But
it's on his resume. I think it's fair to promote.
I mean, it's good for recruiting, and I think Brian Hartline's going to get some solid guys in there at a small school at USF with the NIL era we live in. But my next coach is Lincoln Riley. Didn't like him at Oklahoma. Dang sure don't like him at USC. And the best thing that could have happened to Oklahoma was him going to USC. I mean, you got all the talent in the world, yet your defense looks like they're peewee football players still somehow trying to learn how to play football. The first time, it's like I remember my first practice when I was in 2nd grade. I put the pads on, didn't know what I was doing, and that's what I feel like when I'm watching a Lincoln Riley defense. And it's not his record, it's not his defense. He has the arrogance of somebody like a Nick Saban. And what has he done? His defenses look like crap year in and year out. He's got all the availability in the world at USC. USC wants to be good. They want to be back on top. They want to be where they should be in college football. But you got an arrogant coach that you're overpaying and giving over resources who's doing nothing with them in Lincoln Riley. Can't stand him.
I agree.
Just to be clear about this, though, all right, he did sign the #1 recruiting class this past year, so you got to give him credit for at least adjusting, changing, and the Dance and Lynn experience wasn't a complete failure. It looked like it was on a good track, but Lincoln Riley made the decision, or I guess maybe Danton Lynn left, but I think this was more of a mutual thing. But they made the decision that they need to try to fast track this. So they hired Gary Patterson. They are at the very least, and I understand why you don't like Lincoln Riley, and I get it. I don't firmly disagree with you, but I also I'm not totally against him. He is doing whatever he can to fast track figuring this stuff out.
So I'll ask you this, and if there's nothing else to be said, we'll move on to y'all's second guys. What do you think? How do you think USC compares to the Big Ten? Um, I, I mean, you got Ohio State who's going to looking solid. You got Indiana who's looking solid. Michigan, Oregon, who's I think looks the most got the best defensive line in the country. So where do you see USC fall into all this?
I think the problem you have with USC, specifically thinking about last year, look, the TCU game was embarrassing how it finished. They controlled most of that game, even with their two receivers opting out, their top two receivers opting out. But USC is in an interesting situation where they are probably good enough to beat those good teams in the Big Ten, those next tier teams, and be at the top of that. But when you're comparing them to the top of the conference, so far in 2 years, they have not been able to really be competitive in those games. Like Oregon ran them off the field last year. And Notre Dame, I know Notre Dame's not in the Big Ten, but Notre Dame up there on that same level kind of controlled that game. So USC needs to find a way to be able to elevate themselves to the point where they can be more competitive. And the only game in the last 2 years they were actually competitive against the top of the conference was the Penn State game when they let Tyler Warren go off for 970 yards. So they got to be able to compete a whole lot better against the top.
Yeah, but like Bosch was saying, I mean, my thing is yes, he had a #1 recruiting class this year. I'll give them that. But until I see actual progress being made on the defensive side of the ball, I just think of this as an offensive mind, not a head coach, and that's just the truth. But going into my number two head coach, I used to admire this guy a lot. Great defensive mind, back-to-back national championship coordinator. Dan Lanning. I cannot stand Dan Lanning now. He is, and this might be my SEC brain, but Dan Lanning he needs to remember where he came from. I don't like the disrespect that he's thrown towards the SEC, especially being taught by a guy like Kirby and Nick Saban, and to call this conference weak for playing a cupcake game and week 9 weeks in is kind of crazy to me. We'll just see who's the big boys now because we have 9 conference games. But it's kind of ironic to hear a guy talk about the SEC so poorly coming from there, and then to go on and get blown out in the first round of every year's playoffs. So it's just ironic.
I completely disagree. Dan Lanning's one of my favorite coaches in college football. If Kalen DeBoer was fired today and I had to pick any coach out I could for Alabama, I would hope they would go after Dan Lanning and offer him a bag. I'm high on Dan Lanning. I think he's top 5, maybe top 10 at the least, coaching college football. And they're going to break through. He's going to get a natty there. And I think before it's over said and done with, we might see him back in the SEC and anyway, because he does still got his house in Georgia.
It's gonna take a pretty hefty bag and hefty situation for him to leave Oregon, though. Let's just be real over here. All right.
I mean, I love Kalen DeBoer. I think Kalen DeBoer is a solid coach, but when Saban first retired, that's the guy I wanted was Dan Lanning. I love
Okay,
Yeah,
but
Dan.
also,
hypothetically here, we're just talking like just things not into existence, but hypothetically, if Dan Lanning did leave Oregon, there is only one school that I could see him leave for, and that is to be Kirby Smart's successor. I
yeah.
think that Georgia can write the paycheck for a head coach like that. And that's really the only school I could ever see him leaving for.
But I also don't think we're really all that close to that situation,
We're
to be
not.
I
quite
mean,
honest with you. So
he,
I feel like Kirby's still got a long ways to go.
he's in a good spot, and I'm just gonna say how it is. Oregon doesn't have state national championships because they haven't gotten one, so he's in a really good spot right now.
Yeah, look, I like Dan Lanning. I like Dan Lanning. Okay,
I do too. I
That's
love
all
him.
I'm
Look,
gonna
look,
say.
look. My only thing is, I think instead of trash talking the SEC for playing a cupcake in Week 10, you should worry about not getting blown out in the first round of the playoffs. That's just my opinion.
It's not like he's getting blown out against SEC schools now.
Well, let's look back.
It was Ohio State and
No,
Indiana.
it was Ohio State and Indiana. Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
you're right. You're right. But
So,
still.
but I get what you're saying for sure. And look, that I don't want to get too deep in this because we're going to have conversations about the distinction between the two conferences, because at the end of the day, like that's the top of the sport. You have the two conferences who are going to have at least a semblance of depth every single year, and then you have the other two conferences, specifically the ACC has more potential for this, where you could have one team that can compete at a national level, but the whole conference as a whole for the Big 12 and the ACC, it's not going to be great. So Dan Lanning kind of taking shots at the SEC, man, I think honestly it's like to just prop up their strength of schedule and because honestly, I will say, whether or not you agree that or you think that the Big Ten's better or the SEC's better, I think too many fans of SEC schools completely diminish and absolutely try to put down the strength of schedule in the Big Ten. Like a good example is when Oregon went on the road, had to have a 2-minute drive to go and beat Iowa in 40-degree sleet, rain, whatever it was. People don't think that's a good win. People didn't think that was a good win. And that's the narrative that is built with playing in the Big Ten, is if you play a team like Iowa when they're good, if you're playing a team like when Michigan State's been good in the past, Wisconsin can be good, like all of these next tier programs that don't produce as much NFL talent, they're really well coached and really hard to beat. And too many of these SEC fans, I'm not talking about either of you specifically, completely ignore it.
Well, and my thing is like, not to call out any specific teams, but I'm going to. Let's go back through Penn State's schedule last year. Penn State's schedule was Charmin. Like it was, dude. They started the season with what, Villanova, I mean, at like Division II like
Oh yeah,
teams, like
no.
FCS, bro.
Their out of conference was terrible. I think they played Villanova, FIU, and Nevada.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Which FIU and Nevada were both. FIU was in complete rebuild mode, and Nevada, they're
This is
Nevada.
Nevada. Yeah.
Nevada.
And the out of conference is like a different situation. When we get in conference, the only teams that I really like every other year, every like 4 or 5 years, Northwestern is decent, but I consider them, kind of bottom. Rutgers, obviously bottom. But like schools like that is where I personally am like, okay, that's a cupcake game.
Sure. They played on the road at Rutgers. I think, again, this is like the SEC perspective. Like, people don't understand how much talent was on that Rutgers team. People don't really pay attention to Ian Strong and KJ Duff and what they were able to do throwing the football last year. Their defense actually took a step back. Penn State, they played, like, Northwestern was a solid team last year, right? At least I thought so. They played Oregon. They played Ohio State. They played Indiana. They played Iowa. 2 of the 4 on the road. It's like their schedule was not that soft in conference play.
So, Colin,
That's a talk for another time.
Sure.
who's your second coach, Colin?
Bro, freaking bite bite my kneecaps off guy. So, I can't stand Dan Campbell. I can't believe I'm the only one who went with like an NFL coach. This guy is the cheesiest dude in sports. He is not that good of a coach. He got completely carried by Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson leaves and you can't even make the playoffs. Ben Johnson leaves and you place fourth in the NFC North. Dude, you are so corny. You are so bad. You ended up promoting somebody from within, like your Dabo Swinney or something, hiring your cousin, doing that type of bull crap at the NFL level, and then you end up having to take over play calling because of pure incompetence, just to demonstrate how incompetent you are as a coach. Dan Campbell is a complete clown, and it's a shame too because the Lions have so much talent on their offense. Ended up wasting it. They couldn't run the ball. They couldn't run the ball, and they had Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, the best running back duo in football. You're a clown, Dan Campbell. You can bite off my kneecaps all you want. I'm going to just laugh. Just
So
continue to laugh at you for the rest of my life. Go Bears. Lions suck.
I'm
The
about to
Bears.
do I'm about to do a Brendan Sorsby move right here. This is the only thing I got to say about that take. I'm about to do a Brendan Sorsby move, get FanDuel to sponsor this podcast, and always take the over if Colin talks trash on any Michigan team, whether it be professional or the Wolverines. It's not going to miss the episode. You go back and listen to all our episodes. He's either talking bad about the Lions or the Wolverines. It never
Hey,
fails.
speaking of professional Michigan teams, how about the Pistons being down 3-1 to the Orlando Magic?
Yeah, I didn't have that on my bingo card.
I
I
did
really
not
thought
either.
I thought we'd see the Pistons Eastern Conference
Since we're on
Finals.
this topic, Sixers, we'll see you in game 6, John Whalen. How about Embiid?
I think we ended in game 6, but y'all looked really
You
good
probably
last.
do, but I have to give it to you. You know what I'm saying?
But y'all looked really good last night. I was pissed. Um, but I'm about to piss you off some more. My most hated team is none other than the Dallas Cowboys, and I love you, Isaac. I love you. But look, and it's not the Cowboys. The Cowboys as a whole. They're America's team. They haven't done anything in the playoffs for decades.
We are
And
America's team.
and that's what I'm saying. The media covers them like y'all are reigning Super Bowl champions every year. And the fans, the fan base, it's always y'all's year every single year. And from the media, no hate for the Cowboys personally. The media, the fan base, they just run it for me.
Well, and I'll say this: the thing is we, for the past, I don't know how many years since I've been a fan, okay, except for maybe 1 or 2 years, have always had the talent on the field to be able to get it done. It's just outside locker room drama. And I think that's why all of us Cowboys say every year, oh, this is our year. But something's bound to happen in the locker room that just shifts the entire season. But it has nothing to do with talent. Talent's always been there.
Jerry's also always been there.
Jerry's world.
Gotta love him. Think that's why people don't like Dallas so much. A big part of it. Now the it's our year is kind of a meme. I really just think that he is the most unlikable owner in the NFL. At least publicly, to the casual fans too. Like casual NFL fans, they know Jerry Jones and they usually don't like him.
Yep.
Best owner and GM. Remember, he won't hire a GM.
All right, so my number one most hated fan base out of every fan base on planet Earth has to be Eagles fans. I can't stand the Eagles fan base. They will sit there and talk about how the Cowboys have been on a 40-year drought. Well, guess what? If we win another 10 or 15 years without winning a Super Bowl, it still won't be as long as the Eagles' drought for a Super Bowl. Okay, I am in no mood to hear about how Jerry Jones is a bad owner whenever you have been mediocre since your existence. We've given you a 60 to 70 year head start to catch up to us, and guess what? You've only managed to win 2 rings. 2. Okay? I'm in no mood to hear from Philadelphia fans. I can't stand them. You'd act like they're the New England Patriots if you talk to them. It's unbearable. And I don't see how Cowboys fans catch the flack that we do whenever we have those guys sitting right there in the same division. I really can't.
I think, yeah. I mean, I'm not surprised for you to say that at all. Cowboys, Eagles, one of the biggest rivalries in sports. It's up there with Alabama, Auburn, Michigan, Ohio State. It's up there with Lakers, Celtics. It's one of the biggest rivalries in sports. That doesn't surprise me that you said that at all.
Brother. Okay. I didn't know if I wanted to bring these guys up again, but I have to because
Here we
it's
go.
teams you root against.
Is
Every
it the
single
Walmart
week.
Wolverines or the
Every
Lions?
single week I'm rooting against these Walmart Wolverines, bro. Like, it's every single week. It's every single sport. Basketball was just painful. You remember John Whalen and the TikTok lives, dude? I'm like, every single game that they played, I'm like, St. Louis going to beat them. Alabama going to beat them. Roll Tide, Nick Saban, cold beer. Come on. Like,
Roll
I was
Tide, Nick
doing
Saban,
all
cold
of
beer.
it. Roll Tide, Nate Oates, cold beer. Come on. But I was doing all of it throughout March Madness. And when they won it all, I was pissed. Like, I mean, I was just pissed. And I was pissed when they won it all back in 2023. I knew they cheated for that title. I knew they cheated for 3 years to beat us. And at the end of the day, though, I'm going to continue to root against you because you don't stand on integrity. It's just, gosh, I hate that they hired a coach. And this is the biggest thing that's going to make me mad. I hate that they hired a coach that I really respect and really like. But at the end of the day, I can justify hating on Kyle Whittingham too, because guess what? Kyle Whittingham took Utah. He took Morgan Scalley, his understudy, his boy. He handpicked him to be the head coach of Waiting, and he said, congratulations on your new job. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take all of your players, all of your coaches, and I'm going to take them to Ann Arbor with me. You just did Morgan Scalley dirty, dude. You basically said, hey, here's this girl. I want you to meet her. And then you stole the girl from him. You stole the girl from him. Kyle Whittingham, you pulled a quick one on Morgan Scalley, and therefore I can justify not liking you anymore. Go Buckeyes.
So, I love to hear Ohio State fans and Michigan fans go at it, but like I said, pull a Brendan Sorsby, FanDuel sponsor us. I'm telling you, you take the up over this episode, you've already hit. But my second team, and I kind of went in a different direction than y'all because I do hate. I mean, Auburn, Tennessee, LSU, they get my blood boiling. NFL, the Bills, the Patriots, they get my blood boiling. The Jets even get my blood boiling, but the Jets are never anything to worry about. But I went a little different route because me as an Alabama fan, y'all already know those get my blood blowing. And I said the Dallas Cowboys, and I'm gonna take it back to college football with this one. Give me Notre Dame Fighting Irish. The independence, the constant hype, and the cycle of disappointment. It's just the gift that keeps on giving. Um, I don't like them. I don't like the new college football playoff rule. They're like the spoiled little brat of college football. They're just spoiled brats. They get everything they don't deserve. They're fed with silver spoons, and Notre Dame is scheduled with this new rule. Soft as charming. The SEC, the Big Ten. We can argue what schedule's weaker, but ain't none of them topping Notre Dame's, who's going to be right there with them in the playoff.
Whoa.
It's going to be right there with the SEC team that makes the playoff, the Big Ten, the team that makes the playoff. It's just going to be a cycle of disappointment. I think I looked it up the other day. Their last national championship was like 1988 when I looked it up.
No, it was 19. Wasn't it 1980?
No, it was 1988. I think
Yeah.
I think 88's correct.
Yeah, 88 against Georgia, right?
I actually don't know who they would have beat. I think they played in the Orange Bowl though.
But it's
I think
ridiculous.
Yeah,
it was
let's
against
not get
Georgia.
hung on that. Right,
Yeah.
okay, hate on their schedule all you want. You realize that they play BYU on the road, which is not going to be easy, especially with all the returning production that they have. And they also play the top 2 Vegas odds favorites to win the ACC. They play Miami and they play SMU. Those are the top 2 teams in the ACC according to Vegas going into the year. They don't have a ton of control over their schedule. Like they play Wisconsin and Lambeau Field. That's a fun game And it's not their fault that Wisconsin's down. They have historic rivals with Michigan State and Purdue. And remember, it was Michigan who canceled the series with Notre Dame. It was USC who canceled the series with Notre Dame, not the other way around. The only thing that I can really go and defend, and this is what I don't like when talking about Notre Dame, is people target their schedule. Their schedule ain't all their fault. Now, you can talk about the independent stuff. I think that it is more so because, independence used to be a big thing back in the day, and Notre Dame held on to that longer. Nobody applied any pressure for Notre Dame to join a conference, so why would they? Do you blame Notre Dame? Are you mad at Notre Dame? Are you mad at all of the other conferences? Are you mad at all of the other teams, commissioners, whatever, that don't apply any sort of pressure for Notre Dame to join a conference? It's not Notre Dame's fault. It's the sport's fault.
I mean, I will say this, and this is the only time I will ever defend Notre Dame. Probably as long as this podcast exists, probably the rest of my life. They'd be stupid to join the conference. NBC's giving them money. They're not having to split it between the conferences. Money out of NBC's pocket straight to Notre Dame.
And the big thing too, if they can make it more difficult for them to make the playoff, that would incentivize them. They haven't done it. If they made it more difficult for them to build a 12-game Power 4-like schedule, Notre Dame would have problems. The ACC doesn't let that happen. When COVID happened, guess what they did? Join our league for a year. Why? Leave them out to dry.
And
Make them have to schedule a bunch of games like BYU had to do.
Notre Dame looked really, really good in that 2020 season.
Sure, but
until they ran into Alabama.
Yeah, well, yeah, it doesn't matter to me.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't like Notre Dame fans just because I feel like they, ever since 1988, they've given themselves participation trophies. They're the type of squad to say, well, did you make the national championship? Okay, cool. But did you win the national championship is a real question. You know what I'm saying? But moving on to my second most hated fan base. I was tempted to say Notre Dame with this. I was tempted to say some other schools, but I have to do it. It's the Alabama Crimson Tide.
He's only doing that because I've done his Dallas Cowboys.
Here's my no. I really had Notre Dame written down, but you took that one, so I had to do Alabama. I get it. 16 national championships, most national championships out of every program. Okay. I'm not denying the fact that you guys should pump your chest. You've had two of the greatest coaches of all times. I'm not denying any of that. My issue with Alabama fans is whenever another team wins the national championship and they want to get on social media to celebrate, Alabama fans can never just let them have their moment. They always have to come in and be like, but can they win another one? Look, nobody cares. Nobody cares if they can win another one. They did it this year. It's the same thing with Indiana fans. Now, I get it. Indiana fans this year have been equally as unbearable with the Kurt Signetti, Nick Saban comparisons. I get it. I understand Bama fans. But at the same time, let them be delusional. They're the most losingest program in college football history. They just won their first ever national championship. Yeah. Let them be delusional, just like you guys were whenever you won your first national championship, okay? Because that's where greatness starts. You guys hate other schools being great so much. You can't handle it. You can't. Especially, and that's why I hate the Crimson Tide.
Even if their program's in a good spot right now, they're not like elite top of the sport anymore, and I think it's established now that they're not. So it's like Alabama fans just can't handle that. And Alabama fans every single offseason or before the playoff last year, like some of the conversations I was having in TikTok Live before the playoff, and it wasn't with our boy John Whalen over here. John Whalen's a real one. This is why we like him. This is why we're doing a podcast with him, because John's a real one. But a lot of Alabama fans were so delusional about what they could do in the playoff, and they were so delusional about what they were supposed to do against Indiana. Well,
and here's the thing, Colin. It's so hot or cold too, because in one day they'll tell you, "Hey, I think we can beat Indiana," and then the next day they're like, "Hey, I think we should fire Kalen DeBoer." Well, weren't you just telling me the other day that he was capable of beating Indiana? It's so hit or miss.
I'll throw this out there, and I'm not going to give y'all the answer y'all are expecting. This is not a rage bait thing for me. And it's the perfect time to say, if you're watching this, I did make a mistake saying Tennessee played Alabama in November. That's my fault. I apologize. It was a mistake. Onward to that, Alabama fans. I'm an Alabama fan. Then we got the best fan base in the country. I will say this. I've shared these clips on TikTok. I've shared what I thought. Was it a bad take? Yeah, Kalen DeBoer got an extension a week later, but it was a bad take. And I think it's a good extension. I think it was done for recruiting. I'm excited to see what Kalen DeBoer does, and I'm happy with that. Here's the issue. I don't care that he just got the extension. I don't care that Alabama fans are bumping up his chest. I'm an Alabama fan, and I'm part of the problem. Well, as soon as Alabama does something un-Alabama like, I'm going to be on the board. But what I can acknowledge as a Alabama fan, for every Alabama fan in the comments on TikTok telling me to take my crimson off, I'm not. I'm a diehard fan. But here's the thing, Alabama fans, I'm a realistic fan. And will I be freaking out if we go 8-4? Yes, but it's a possibility. I don't care if we play Tennessee in October, September, November. I don't care. Because guess what? We haven't beat them in Neyland since 2020. So Alabama fans, you better have that game circled. Georgia, they're been on top of the SEC for a while now. We lost that title when Nick Saban left. You better have that game circled. I don't care if it's in Tuscaloosa. I would love to hear Ramajammer played and we beat the hell out of them. LSU, I'm not high on them, but they got big expectations. You better have that game circled because the Kiffin train, we're going into Lane Kiffin's house. Okay? The Iron Bowl, we've won 6 years in a row. That game's scary. Goalish is coming ready to win the Iron Bowl. So, Alabama fans, if we go 8-4, I'm going to sit here and be just as pissed about it as y'all are. But we have a short memory. Talking about, I shared a little clip on TikTok and y'all fell for the rage bait. Talking about how we missed out on
And
Cam Coleman.
and
Talking
I'm
about
gonna
how
say
we missed out
this.
on Hollywood Smothers. I think Kalen DeBoer got exactly what we needed. I think he made the right moves. But we have such a short memory as Alabama fans because every Alabama fan in my comment section was not happy when we missed out on him. And yes, Greg Byrne needs to get more into the NIL money. He needs to be able to spend more. And that's the problem we have. Look at this. Texas
Well,
Tech is playing a quarterback that we were talking about at the beginning of the show, Brendan Sorsby, overpaid, and he's probably not even going to see the field because he's got a gambling problem. So I
well,
don't
I'll
want to
say
hear it,
this, John.
Alabama fans. I'm not taking my crimson off. I'm a diehard fan, and when we do have a bad season, because it's inedible to happen, I want to see how many of y'all are still wearing crimson, and that's all I got to say.
Hey, John Whalen, I'll say this. And this might be an unpopular opinion. I don't like the Kalen DeBoer extension. I actually hate it. The contract that you guys gave him in the first place was kind of screwed up. It was too big of a deal, especially at a place like Alabama. And for you to give him an even bigger deal as that seat is getting warmer and warmer and Alabama fans are like moving their expectations up and up whenever, you came off of a year where the offensive line wasn't really that great. You couldn't produce a run game to save your life, all that good stuff. I don't think it was a very good idea to give him that hefty of an extension.
I will say this. And I probably went on a little too rant, but I can't stand when I'm one of the Alabama fans that might be the problem. But our problem is the difference between me and the part of the fan base I like to piss off is I don't have a short memory.
Hey, ignorance
Um,
is bliss, John Whalen. Ignorance is bliss.
but here's the thing I will say. I like the contract. I don't like the money. But I looked at the buyout breakdown. It's not that bad. He's getting a lot of that up front. The buyout's not crazy, but the pay is crazy. So we'll see what happens. I think Kellen DeBoer is a great coach, and I think he's gonna. I don't think there's gonna be a revolving door after Nick Saban. I think he's there to stay a while. Honestly.
All right, Colin, your second most hated fan base.
Bro, this should be so obvious. I can't stand the Packers. Can't stand the Packers.
Pac-Man, Packer baby.
Oh my gosh, dude. So let's just
Could've worn my
start with the
cheesehead.
fact that they're fan base owned. Yeah, you want to be owned by a bunch of people who are addicted to cheese. Addicted to cheese and beer. That's what they're addicted to. The unhealthy
Pack,
lifestyles
baby.
is who's running
Go, Pack,
running that.
go.
No, stop that crap. All right, and look, thank goodness I'm excited for Ben Johnson to continue to beat Matt LaFleur twice a year, like he did in year one. The Packers, dude, they're always a little overrated. They always get the benefit of the doubt that they don't deserve. What? Because they won the first 2 Super Bowls? That's freaking great. Whatever. I don't really care. All right, who really cares? At the end of the day, the Packers, man, they're always propped up. They're always talked about like they're better than everybody in the NFC North. They're always going to be an NFC championship contender. Even last year when it was very obvious they weren't that good, people were like, oh no, Packers could be a sneaky team as a 7th seed. And people picking against the Chicago Bears. Come on, man. We got the Iceman who victimized you twice. Stop it, bro. Stop it. Y'all suck.
I will say this about the Packers. I went to go Lambeau Field on Thanksgiving Day. Took my buddy to the SEC championship game when Alabama Georgia played in 2023. Next year, he took me to see Miami and Green Bay play on Thanksgiving Day. Can't agree. I love it. I love the beer. I love drinking cold Busch Light, dipping my cheese curds in caramel, and just absolutely closest thing you'll get to SEC tailgate. I love that they're fan based on. I love Lambeau Field and its history. I can't agree.
You
No,
gotta
screw
love
the
the
Packers.
Packers, man. The Packers, go Pack, go,
Oh, screw the
Colin.
Packers, bro.
The Packers, man.
Man, what you just love them because you guys couldn't beat them?
All right,
No,
all right. So
no. I love the Packers because I love all the northern teams because especially the New England teams, just because like those are the hardy people. Those are the hardy football people. You know what I'm saying? They know how to get down.
And I'll say this before I move on to my most hated two players.
Is it
I think
hated or overrated?
I hate it, overrated. I hate them because they're overrated. Same thing.
Okay.
Um, but I'll say this: nothing. SEC tailgates beat Big Ten tailgates. Not a debate, in my opinion. But I will say
Yeah,
where the Big
that's not a
Ten makes
debate.
up for it is their professional teams: the Packers, the Lions, the Bears, the
Don't
Bills.
mention the
It's
Lions, bro.
insane, and I hate the
Yeah, not the
Bills. But
Lions. The
I would
Lions.
love I would love a Bills tailgate. I just I love the fan base, the Vikings. I love those fan bases. And here's the thing, and I'll compare it to this. If you go to Georgia, we're talking about Georgia football. It's different from up north. It's different for NFL than the college.
Yeah.
But my most hated, overrated player, I'll put Zion Williamson at number one. He has unbelievable talent. Don't get me wrong, but he's never on the court. Um, and he's not the guy. It's time to stop grading him on potential and start grading him on product. Potential, I think we do that. I see the media does it, and I think we as fans do it. Everybody does it, but there's potential, but there's no product. And he's been in the NBA for a couple years now. Zion Williamson, most overrated player in all of sports. Honestly, I hate it.
Yeah, I kind of went along right there with you. And the number one player that I have that's the most overrated player, in my opinion, is Devin Booker. Okay, this guy is essentially getting in his own way because the Phoenix Suns are not going to win. At least for right now. Don't get me wrong, Devin Booker has an offensive bag, but he's proven time and time again that I don't think that he's a real number one, and people look at him that way. People, think that he could carry a squad to a championship. I personally don't think that he can do that, especially not as a number one option.
Yeah, I agree there. I don't have nothing to say to that.
Well, I went with two football players. I was keeping it football. The first one, look, I don't want to. That's why I wanted to make the distinction between overrated and hated because I don't hate this guy. His personality is great. He seems like a really, really good, pure dude. But Jordan Love is so overrated. He's
Don't play
so
with us.
overrated, bro.
The pack, man.
No, bro. When Malik Willis came in, he was harder to stop than
Malik, that's
Jordan
my
Love.
QB1.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Jordan Love is so overrated. He look, he takes a lot of shots. He's been able to hit on some. He's got some good deep threat receivers, or has had some good deep threat receivers. At the end of the day, he's never really done anything in the playoffs. He's usually come up short. I think a lot of people prop him up because of the history at the quarterback position with the Packers. He's just not that good. He's average and people want to put him in the top 10 conversation, bro. I'm not entertaining this garbage. And obviously, right now he's the third best quarterback in the NFC North, and Packers fans hate to hear it, but it's the truth. Jordan Love is just mid. He's just mid.
I disagree. I'm big on Jordan Love. I've watched him play.
I
I've seen him make
I
some great
I
plays.
I actually don't disagree with you, Bosh. I'm right there with
There
you.
you go.
I don't I don't see like the top 10 quarterback that everybody sees with Jordan Love. I mean, he's made some plays, he's shown some flashes, but all in all, I don't see anything super special about his time at Green Bay with Matt LaFleur.
Yep.
So my second player, we already know, it's Shedeur Sanders. You know, Cleveland got a great draft class, something that I never thought I'd see Cleveland do. They're the Browns, but I'll tell you this. I know Colin's not high on Taylor Green, but he would be a better starter for the Browns than Shedeur. Give Dylan Gabriel a chance. Shedeur never did nothing at Colorado. Matter of fact, Deion Sanders never did anything at Colorado. They've not been successful. The hype has been way overhyped. Shadeur's been way overhyped. I went to Carolina Panthers preseason game against the Browns last year. You know how many Panthers fans had Shadeur's jerseys wanting to get signed? What has Shedeur done? He got to the Pro Bowl and throw at least a half a dozen interceptions. I don't remember the exact number. He's the bum. He's riding off his daddy's coattails. He's riding off his name. He does not deserve to be in the position he was in.
No, bro. No. He didn't deserve to be in the 6th round either. He deserved to be in the 1st round. This guy's
perfect timing,
bro. He's got. He's
a perfect timing.
Bro, he's really accurate. His ball placement's really good, and you can't tell me that he didn't elevate Colorado whatsoever. Colorado was the worst program in the Power 4 when Deion took over and brought his son and Travis Hunter with him, and they were able to go 9-3, and they were really close to being able to make the Big 12 championship. That rebuild is underappreciated, and look. Where they go from now, I'm definitely concerned about. But you got to keep in mind when you're talking about Deion Sanders, what he dealt with off the field and how he wasn't with the team most of the offseason last season. So you cannot over criticize Colorado. It's such a low hanging fruit to go and criticize them. It's a low hanging fruit to go and criticize Shedeur too.
Yeah, my second most overrated player. I'm sorry. I have to do it, Bosh. It's Julian Sayed. It is. It is. And I understand we talk about the completion percentage and all that stuff. But what you got to keep in mind is he had one of the best wide receiving cores in the nation by far. Like, I feel like there's a problem with Ohio State quarterbacks being propped up by their wide receiver rooms. And it's no dig on Ohio State. Win how you can. But at the same time, I don't take high value in an Ohio State quarterback whenever looking at them at a prospect, just because their wide receiver rooms are always stacked.
So that was not a crazy take. You genuinely believe Tavian St. Clair is better?
Yeah.
No, I do.
You'll see. That's all I'm going to say right now. You'll see.
I mean,
Tavian St. Clair will be the next Ohio State quarterback to win a national championship. I don't think Julian St. will get it.
Yeah, you can say that. You're going to see what Julian's capable of this.
I mean, look, I'll say it this way: Tommy Carr looked better in the spring game. Tavian St. Clair looked better in the spring game. Keelan Russell looked better in the spring game. But we all know who the starters are.
Don't get me wrong here, okay? I hope that Julian Sand proves me wrong. I'm rooting for the kid. Like, I don't wish to see a guy fail and not win a national championship or not get drafted or anything like that. But with the arm talent and the flashes and just a pure prospect, I think that Tavian St. Clair is going to be miles better than what Julian Sand is. And I don't think that's a crazy statement.
Could be true, though. Both could be true. That Julian's a really good player, but also Tavian has a lot more potential. I think it could be true. Either way, I'm just going to leave it at you'll see this upcoming season, because I think he's going to take a big leap with some of his shortcomings. My last player, Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold's overrated. Look, he's not bad, and his story's really good. I do agree with that, the way that he was able to come back after being looked at as a first-round bust and being able to lead a team to a Super Bowl. Don't get it twisted. That defense was nasty. JSN was the leading receiver in the NFL. And they also had a really good complementary run game to go with it. It was not all because of Sam Darnold, the success that the Seahawks had. I think it gets propped up into this conversation the same way Jalen Hurts did after he won the Super Bowl. And I think that just like Jordan Love, he's kind of average and people want to put him into the top 10 conversation. At the end of the day, when you have complimentary football like these guys had in Seattle, you're going to get a situation where if a guy can manage a game properly, they're going to be able to win. He's got really, really good on talent, but the consistency is not always there with him. Just when he has a bad game, when he has an off game, somebody else can pick him up. So I got Sam Darnold as an overrated athlete.
I would say I can see where you're going with there. To just call him out like that, though, I mean, I think he did win a Super Bowl. I mean, you can't be too bad to win a Super
Yeah,
Bowl.
Trent
But
Dilfer did too.
then again, Nick Foles did too.
Nick
And I
Foles
will
did,
say,
yeah.
I disagree with you a little bit, Bosh. I just think that Sam Darnold was one of those guys who got drafted to a poor organization, then went to another poor organization with the Carolina Panthers, and then kind of found his rhythm with the Minnesota Vikings and some quarterback whispering help, and obviously won a Super Bowl at Seattle. So
Yeah.
But the Carolina Panthers look on the up and up. In my opinion, they're gonna have a big year. I mean, I
Here we
think they've
go.
made the right moves. I think they could have handled the draft a little bit better.
nobody in that division is on the up and up. Stop it, John Whalen.
The Panthers are. The Buccaneers are on the down and down. The Saints, they could, but I don't know. But I will say this: thank y'all for watching. Um, make sure y'all subscribe to us on YouTube and Spotify. Subscribe to our individual content. You can find all our individual content on TikTok with John Whalen Hollis, Boss CFB, and Balls by 50 Network. Um, please check out, subscribe to us and on our social media pages. We got an Instagram, All Hello Sports Podcast Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok. And also check out Colin's individual work on the Bosch CFB show on YouTube. And thank y'all for watching. Toodles.
Oh, bye.
Oh, goodbye.